Well, for every child, railways is a tremendous romance. Every journey, every going out, every movement brings fresh thrills to every child almost. If you remember Pathet Pachali, that scene from Pathet Pachali, where those two little children, they're actually moving towards the railways, those plumes of smoke and the train moving away. Exactly like that happened to me also. Something very close to that. Because actually my family used to travel once or twice a year. And by the time I was 15 or 16, I and my brother with my parents have traveled almost all over North India every year. And I've seen those changes. Not many changes occurred during those years, but what I remember is the introduction of the Canadian engine. The tone was different, the tone of the whistle was different, the movement was faster, and the rhythm was terrific. And we used to travel by second class, very rarely in first class. And those first class was beautiful because they opened out on the platform. Each has its own entry and exit. And what I remember, the other thing I remember specifically, and which is very interesting, was the tea service by Kellner from certain stations, particularly from Asansol. What I remember, we were all served tea in ceramic teapots on trays with cutlery and everything. That was simply heavenly. And the other thing I remember about my train journeys in the early life is that people who traveled in different classes, there was no mix-up. The class division, not only of railways, but of people, was very evident when you were traveling by railways. Slightly middle class or upper middle class people used to travel by second class, and the real upper classes used to travel by first class. So there was a social categorization while you travel by railways. You can feel that. The other thing was, what I miss nowadays, some very quaint little stations, small stations. There are only a few lamp posts, low platforms, all with mortar and brick, red tiled station buildings with only one room and one window perhaps. When we used to pass these during the daytime, they brought to me a kind of romance. And when we used to pass during the night time, it was really thrilling, because I used to wonder who lived there, how they lived there. There were tall trees. And the other thing, while talking about trees, I remember that almost all junction stations had the same look of very tall trees, pipul trees, different kinds of mango and other fruit trees. They were all very shaded eucalyptus as we moved farther away from Bengal. Eucalyptus trees, all were big, well grown up, the teaks and all that. It was all a very different kind of, and in between those green trees there were shades of terracotta. There were shades of terracotta in the station buildings. It was lovely, really. That was a different thing altogether. And once again, I go back to that part of food. Food served in those days, what we used to get, of course not from pantry cars, not from whenever you like, but from the stations, the food served, the quality was superb. The quality was superb. We had at least a number of choices. And they were all served very well. The service itself the garnishings and everything was beautiful. That's what I remember.